Hey everyone, I've been reading Mastering Audio, The Art and Science by Bob Katz, and I noticed something interesting. In the book he explains how to generate and verify MD5 checksums, but the example only uses a Windows-based tool. So if you're a Mac user like me, you might be wondering, how do I do this on Mac, and how do I do it for free? That's what this video is about. Today I'm going to show you how to generate and verify MD5 checksums for a DDP master on a Mac and explain a little about what a DDP and an MD5 checksum is along the way. Let's start with a DDP. A DDP is the format most CD replication plants require before they manufacture your CD. Before we go further, let's clarify something. What exactly is a DDP? A DDP, which stands for Disk Description Protocol, is a folder that contains everything needed to manufacture a CD. Instead of just sending audio files, a DDP includes the audio data, track starts and an end marker, ISRC codes, CD text and disk metadata. Because everything is defined exactly, replication plants prefer DDP over WAV files when pressing CDs. I won't be showing how to create a DDP in this video, but I'll link to a great tutorial in the description by James Zan. This shows how to create one for free using Reaper. Now a small disclaimer, Reaper actually generates MD5 checksums automatically when it creates a DDP, so technically you might not need to do this yourself. This tutorial is more for the curious, the detail-oriented and the nerds. So if you identify as a nerd, aspire to be a nerd, or just want something technical to fall asleep to, keep watching. Let's also answer what is an MD5 checksum. An MD5 checksum is a short digital fingerprint of a file used to verify that the file hasn't changed or become corrupted. It comes from the algorithm MD5. What it actually does. When you run an MD5 checksum on a file, the MD5 algorithm reads all the data in the file. It converts it into a 32-character hexadecimal string, pretty much a 32-digit code called a hash, consisting of letters and numbers. See on screen for an example. This number uniquely represents the contents of a file. Why people use MD5 checksums? Firstly, to verify downloads. Websites often publish an MD5 checksum so you can confirm your download is identical to the original. See the example on screen. Secondly, to detect file corruption. If a file changes even slightly, the hash code becomes completely different. If your checksum hash matches, the file is intact. If it doesn't match, the file may have been corrupted or altered. See the example on screen. Even a single bit change produces a new MD5 checksum hash. Here is an important limitation to remember. MD5 is not considered completely secure anymore because collisions can be generated. Modern systems often use the SHA-256 algorithm, but MD5 is still widely used for simple file integrity checks, and MD5 is commonly used by CD pressing plants for file verification. Here's a simple analogy. Think of an MD5 checksum like a file's barcode. Same file, same barcode. If the file changes, there's a completely different barcode. Anyway, back to the tutorial. For this tutorial, I'll use Checksum Plus to generate MD5 files and a free app called Checksum from the Mac App Store to verify them. Links are in the description. Step 1. Make sure your DDP is ready. First, export your DDP from your mastering software or plugin. This could be something like Reaper, Hofer Burn DDP Master, or Sonaris DDP Creator. Not sponsored. Your DDP folder will usually contain files like these: cdtext.bin, ddpid, ddpms, image.dat and pqdescr. In Reaper you also get a checksum.md5 file, but this may not be generated automatically in other mastering DAWs. Hofer, in addition to a checksum, also includes a PDF of a PQ sheet containing the track list. Here is a very brief rundown of what each file contains. My sources are the Hofer CD Burn DDP Master Manual and the Monotype Pressing website. In alphabetical order, the first file is cdtext.bin. This can be optional. It contains CD text information. The next file is the DDP ID. It contains information about the format of the DDP image. Following that is the DDP-MS file, which is a stream descriptor. It contains information about which files belong to the DDP image. One of the most important files is the image.dat file, which contains the audio data. And finally, the PQDESCR file, which contains info about the tracks and metadata, like ISRC codes and UPC/EAN codes. Most replication plants prefer receiving a DDP folder, not just a single WAV file, because the DDP preserves track markers and metadata exactly as intended. Some plants will accept WAV or AIFF files, but often charge extra because they have to recreate the disk layout themselves. An example of a CD plant which has the option to upload WAV or AIFF files is monotypepressing.com, not sponsored. Step 2. Generate MD5 checksums using Checksum Plus. If you want to generate your own MD5 checksum file, you have to do this using Checksum Plus. Open Checksum Plus, go to File, Open, select the files in your DDP folder that you want to generate checksums for. Then choose MD5 under Create Checksum Files and click OK. Checksum will generate an MD5 in the same folder. This file contains a list of MD5 checksum hash values for each file you selected. Think of an MD5 checksum like a digital fingerprint. Even if a single byte changes in the file, the checksum hash will be completely different. Step 3. Verifying a checksum. Now let's verify one of those files. Open the MD5 file using the TextEdit app. You'll see a list of checksum hash values next to the file names. For example, you might see something like a checksum hash listed for cdtext.bin. Now open the Checksum app from the Mac App Store. Make sure the MD5 tab is selected. Paste the checksum value from the MD5 file into the box labelled Paste Reported Checksum here. Then drag the actual file, for example cdtext.bin, into the app. If the file matches the checksum hash, you will see a tick. That means the file has not changed and is intact. If you see a cross, it means the file may have been corrupted or altered. Don't make the mistake I did at first by trying to match an MD5 checksum of the MD5 checksum file with the original file. It's the hash in the TextEdit app you need to compare it with. Step 4. Generate an MD5 checksum in Terminal, which is an optional step. Mac also has a built-in way to generate MD5 checksums using Terminal. Open Terminal and type MD5. Add a space, then drag the file into the Terminal window. For an example, see on screen. Press Enter and Terminal will calculate the checksum. This method doesn't automatically create an MD5 file, but it lets you quickly generate a checksum hash for comparison. Why MD5 checksums are useful. So why do we do this at all? Even though WAV and DDP files are high quality formats, WAV and DDP files don't contain strong built-in error detection like formats such as FLAC. That means if a file gets corrupted during upload or transfer, you might not notice it immediately. Using zip files and MD5 checksums together helps protect your master. Zip archives include CRC error checking, which helps detect damaged files, and MD5 checksums let the replication plant confirm that the files they received are bit for bit identical to what you sent. Even a single corrupted byte would cause the checksum to fail. Delivering your master to the plant. When submitting your master to a replication plant, you would usually send the DDP folder, including the MD5 checksum file, and maybe even a PQ sheet PDF. And it's often a good idea to zip the folder before sending it for extra protection during transfer. And that's it. Now you know how to generate and verify MD5 checksums for a DDP master on Mac for free. This follows the same principles described in Mastering Audio by Bob Katz, but adapted for a Mac workflow. If you found this helpful, hit like, subscribe, and feel free to ask any questions in the comments. Thanks for watching.